October 31st, 2004. Live television broadcast. Fidel Castro had been speaking for 4 hours when he suddenly stopped and said in front of thousands of people, "Who am I? What am I doing here? Who are these people?" The cameras kept rolling. The Cuban people were witnessing their leader losing his mind live. But the most terrifying part was that this was only the beginning. What do you think? Can a leader continue governing when he loses his memory? How should mental illness in power be handled? Share your perspective in the comments. Subscribe to the channel to discover unknown secrets about Fidel Castro, and turn on notifications to learn something new every day. The conference room was full. National and international journalists, government officials, diplomats. It was Fidel Castro's annual address on the state of the Cuban nation. Fidel had begun at 1800 hours. As always, the speech extended. The attendees were already accustomed to his oratorical marathons of 4, 5, even 8 hours. But tonight was different. At 21:47, in the middle of a sentence about sugar production, Fidel stopped. He looked around the room with confused eyes. "Who am I?" he asked out loud. The room fell into absolute silence. The journalists thought it was a rhetorical question. "What am I doing here?" continued Fidel, his voice trembling slightly. Raúl, sitting in the front row, became uneasy. He knew his brother better than anyone. This was not normal. Who are all these people? Fidel looked directly at the television cameras. Why are they looking at me? The TV director in the control booth panicked. The cameras kept broadcasting live. All of Cuba was watching this. Raúl stood up and walked toward the podium. "Brother," he whispered, "you're giving a speech." Fidel looked at him as if he were a stranger. "Who are you?" asked Fidel. "Do I know you?" But the most shocking part was, Raúl made a desperate signal to the TV director to cut the broadcast. But the damage was already done. Millions of Cubans had seen their 48-year-old leader completely lose his orientation. "I'm Raúl, your brother," he said gently. Fidel studied him carefully. "Raúl? The one from Sierra Maestra?" "Yes, that Raúl. But what year is it? Are we still in the Sierra? Where is Che?" The room was in shock. Fidel seemed to have regressed 50 years in his memory. Dr. Eugenio Selman, Fidel's personal physician, approached quickly. "Comandante, do you feel all right?" Fidel stared at him. "Comandante? Who's the Comandante here?" "You." Eugenio exchanged a worried look with Raúl. "Fidel," said Raúl, "you need to rest. The speech can continue tomorrow." "Speech? I was giving a speech." Fidel seemed genuinely confused. "About what?" "About Cuba. What's wrong with Cuba? Have we won yet? Did Batista surrender?" The audience watched in absolute silence. It was like watching an emperor who suddenly realized he was naked. Raúl took the microphone. "Comrades, the Commandante is feeling a bit indisposed. We will continue tomorrow." Fidel grabbed the microphone back. "Wait, I haven't finished," he shouted. "Where's my speech? Did someone steal my speech?" Just at this point everything changed. Dr. Eugenio Selman had been Fidel's personal physician for 15 years. He had never seen anything like this. In his private office, Raúl waited for the results of the neurological exams. "What's wrong with my brother?" Selman breathed deeply. "Raúl, the news is not good. The brain scans show advanced signs of dementia." "Dementia? Probably early-onset Alzheimer's. combined with vascular dementia. It's been progressing for years. Years? Why didn't we notice it before? The initial symptoms were subtle. Small forgotten things, occasional confusion. We attributed them to stress and age. Raúl sat down heavily. How long does he have? With cognitive deterioration? It's already begun. With life? Maybe 2 to 5 years, depending on how quickly it progresses. Can he continue governing? Selman was direct. Absolutely not. His judgment is compromised. His short-term memory is destroyed. Sometimes he doesn't even recognize his own family. But can he improve? Raúl, this condition only gets worse. And quickly. Raúl stood and walked to the window. Does anyone else know this? Just the two of us. But we need to decide what to do. What options do we have? Medically, we can use medications to slow the progression. Politically, Selman shrugged. That's up to you. Wait a moment, don't miss this detail. Raúl convened an emergency family meeting. Just immediate family. His children, Dolia, Fidel's wife, and some of his closest advisors. Family, we have a crisis, began Raúl. Fidel is sick. What kind of sick? Asked Fidelito, Fidel's oldest son. Dementia. Alzheimer's. He's losing his mind. Dolia put her hands to her face. Is that why he's been so confused lately? Yes. And it's going to get worse. Fidelito stood up. So what do we do? Tell the Cuban people that their leader is mentally incapacitated. That's exactly the question, said Raúl. If we admit that Fidel can't govern, Cuba could enter into political crisis. But can we hide it? Asked another family member. For a while, maybe. But not forever. Dr. Selman explained the expected progression. Over the next few months, he'll have more frequent episodes. Hallucinations, paranoia, complete memory loss. Hallucinations? Asked Dolia, alarmed. He'll see people who aren't there. He'll relive events from the past as if they were happening now. He'll become unpredictable. Raúl made the decision. We'll keep this secret as long as possible. We'll limit his public appearances. I'll gradually assume more responsibilities. And if the press asks, we'll say he's tired, that he's taking a well-deserved rest. You still haven't seen the biggest surprise. The hallucinations began in December. Vilma Espin, Raúl's wife, visited Fidel at his private residence when he began talking to someone who wasn't there. Che, where have you been? Said Fidel, looking at an empty chair. Vilma looked at the chair. There was no one there. Fidel, who are you talking to? To Che, of course. Don't you see him? He's right here. Vilma played along. What does Che say? He says the Americans are going to invade tomorrow. Have you prepared the defenses? Yes, Fidel. The defenses are ready. Good. Che is always right about these things. Fidel spent an entire hour having an animated conversation with the invisible Che Guevara. When Vilma told Raúl, he sighed deeply. He's getting worse faster than we expected. A week later, Fidel had an even more disturbing episode. He was in his office when he began shouting, "Batista, get out of my office. This revolution is over." His guards ran into the office, but found Fidel alone, pointing his finger at an empty corner. "Comandante, are you all right? Don't you see him? Batista is here. He's come back to seize power." The guards exchanged worried looks. "Where is Batista, Comandante?" Fidel pointed to the corner. There. Are you blind? You won't believe what happened next. The most terrifying episode occurred on January 15, 2005. Raúl visited Fidel for their weekly meeting when his brother didn't recognize him at all. "Who are you?" asked Fidel aggressively. "I'm Raúl, your brother." "My brother? What brother? I don't have brothers here." "Fidel, I'm Raúl Castro. We've worked together for 50 years. Fidel studied him suspiciously. "Are you a spy? Do you come from the CIA?" "No, Fidel. I'm your family." "Liar!" shouted Fidel. "The Americans sent an imposter." "Guards! Arrest this man." The guards were confused. "Arrest Raúl Castro?" "Comandante," said one carefully, "this is your brother Raúl. My brother is in Sierra Maestra fighting. This is an imposter." Raúl realized that Fidel had mentally regressed to 1958. "You're right," said Raúl, playing along. "I'm from the future. I came to tell you that we won the revolution." Fidel calmed down slightly. "We won." "Yes. Batista fled. Cuba is free. And where is the real Raúl?" "He's resting. He sent me to give you good news." Fidel smiled for the first time in weeks. "We won. I knew we would win. When you thought everything was over." The most dangerous episode occurred in March. Fidel was in his office when he found a red telephone, the direct line with Russian President Putin. In his confused state, he dialed the number. "Putin? It's Fidel speaking. The Americans are going to attack in 1 hour. We need the nuclear missiles now." In the Kremlin, Putin was alarmed. "Fidel? What are you talking about?" "The invasion. Bay of Pigs too. Send everything you have." Putin, knowing Fidel's mental condition, handled the situation calmly. "Fidel, there is no invasion. Everything is fine. You're wrong. I can see them from my window." Putin immediately called Raúl. "Raúl, your brother called me talking about an American invasion. What's happening?" Raúl was mortified. "Putin, I'm very sorry. Fidel is. He's not well. There is no invasion. Do you need medical help? We're handling it. Please ignore any strange calls from him." When Raúl confronted Fidel about the call, Fidel didn't remember it. "I called Putin? When? Why would I do that? An hour ago, Fidel. Impossible. I've been here reading all day." Raúl realized that Fidel was losing not only future memory, but also immediate memory. The situation was becoming unsustainable. Dr. Selman gave his most serious evaluation. "Raúl, Fidel has entered the severe phase. He can no longer distinguish between reality and fantasy. His hallucinations are constant." "How constant?" "Yesterday he spent 3 hours giving orders to invisible soldiers to attack Miami. He's organizing invasions that don't exist against enemies who are dead." "And his memory?" "He lost the last 30 years. He thinks we're still in 1975. He doesn't remember being president. He doesn't remember his adult children." Raúl felt overwhelmed. "How long can we hide it?" "Not much longer." Yesterday he tried to arrest a Spanish diplomat because he thought he was an agent of Franco. Franco died 30 years ago. "What do you recommend medically?" "Immediate institutionalization. He needs 24-hour care." "And politically?" "That's not my area. But a man who doesn't know what year it is cannot run a country." Raúl made the hardest decision of his life. We'll do it gradually. We'll announce that Fidel is sick and needs treatment. I'll assume as interim president. When? Soon. Very soon. The end of an era was approaching. Raúl carefully prepared the announcement. He couldn't reveal the complete truth, but he also couldn't keep lying. The official statement said, Comandante Fidel Castro Ruz has suffered health complications that require extensive medical treatment. Temporarily, he will transfer his responsibilities to his brother Raúl Castro. What the statement didn't say. Fidel had completely lost his memory of the last 35 years. He didn't recognize anyone in his family. He believed he was still fighting against Batista. He spent entire days talking to dead people. His hallucinations were so severe that he needed constant sedation. The international reaction was immediate. Was Fidel dying? Was this a coup? What would happen to Cuba? But the Castro family kept the secret. In February 2008, Fidel officially resigned from the presidency. But the truth was that he no longer understood what it meant to be president. When Raúl explained to him that he was resigning, Fidel asked, "Resigning from what?" "From the rebel army." "Yes, Fidel. Someone else will lead the army now. But will we continue fighting against Batista?" "Yes, brother. We'll continue fighting." It was easier to follow the fantasy than to explain reality. Over the following years, Fidel lived in a world completely separate from reality. Some days he believed it was 1960 and he had just taken power. Other days he believed it was 1962 and he was managing the missile crisis. Occasionally he had moments of clarity where he asked, "What year is it? What happened to me?" But these moments lasted only minutes before he returned to confusion. Dalia, his wife, became his primary caregiver. "How is he today?" Raúl would ask during his visits. "Today it's January 1959, Dalia would answer. "He's celebrating the victory over Batista." "Is he happy?" "In his mind, yes. In his mind, he's young again and has just saved Cuba." On November 25, 2016, Fidel Castro officially died. But the family knew the truth. Fidel's mind had died 12 years earlier. In his final days, he had one last moment of lucidity. "Raúl," he said weakly, "what year is it?" 2016, brother. "Have I been sick a long time?" "Yes, Fidel. A very long time." "Was I a good leader?" Raúl didn't know what to answer. The man who had ruled Cuba for half a century didn't remember any of it. "You were the best you could be," he finally said. Fidel closed his eyes and never opened them again. Today, few know the complete truth about Fidel Castro's final 12 years. The medical records remain classified. The family keeps the secret. The world remembers Fidel as the revolutionary leader who governed until 2008. But the reality is that his effective government ended in 2004, when he lost his mind on live television. Dr. Selman, now retired, reflects, "The question is not when Fidel Castro died. The question is, can a leader still be a leader when he no longer knows who he is?" For 12 years, Cuba was governed by the memory of a man who no longer had memory. Decisions were made by Raúl, but announced in Fidel's name. Speeches were written by others, but attributed to Fidel. Policies were created by advisors, but presented as Fidel's vision. Was this democracy? Was this honest? Was this fair to the Cuban people? These questions remain unanswered, because sometimes the truth is too difficult to admit, even for a revolution. On October 31, 2004, Fidel Castro lost his mind in front of the cameras. But his mental loss was kept secret for 12 years. Cuba continued to be ruled by a ghost, a man who didn't know where he was or what year it was. The question remains, when does a leader's government truly end? When he resigns, when he dies, or when he loses the ability to think? Sometimes, power outlives the mind that created it. If this revelation impacted you as much as it did us, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell to complete this incredible series about Fidel Castro's darkest secrets. Which of these 9 episodes surprised you the most? Share it in the comments.